Hello, good afternoon once again. So this is another episode of a recording of one of the lessons we have in University Virtual Classroom. So our topic for today is about work ethics or character in the workplace. Okay, so without further ado, let me. So you can see your beautiful uh, forehead of your good-looking teacher. Anyway, let me share the lesson. So actually, we had already discussed a partial PowerPoint presentation about ethics, work ethics, but my recordings were cannot be played. I don't know what happens. Cannot be played by the other or cannot be accessed by the other classes. So I have to do this recording once again. Oh, where is it? Okay, wait a minute. Right, it's here. Okay, so today's lesson is about employ the character in the workplace or work ethics. So we have to unlock these definitions in case you will encounter difficulty in understanding some concepts. What is the role of character in the workplace and how important to maintain ethics in the workplace? So, how is the character in your workplace? Is everyone in your workplace doing all they can to make it a place of good ethics and great working conditions? Or is it wonderful? No gossips, no backstabbing, no dishonesty, all just super great people with good character? Being of good character or making ethical decisions can be difficult in a world full of economic, professional, and social pressure. Like moral issues can get buried. So, and often workplace managers and employees do not have enough experience with character or ethics to determine what or how to improve them. So, uh, I I think most of you cannot relate to this since very few of you have working experience. But taking from my own experience, I've been working for 22 years now in the university, and so far, what really made me stay in the university are the people around me. Like there's a family atmosphere. I can barely count with my fingers the toxic people around me because I can tell I can even remember. There are some people. Yeah, I know. I can count with my fingers only. There are some people that are hard to deal with, but somehow I managed to get along with them in spite of their unique character traits. So there are really toxic people in the workplace, but most of the time it depends on how you handle them. So they can become a joy as well. Can you just imagine you work 8 hours a day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then, not to mention the travel time going to work and going home. So that would take around 8 hours plus an hour each, like 10 hours of your time every day is spent in the office or in the workplace, or even more than that, like in Manila. There are even 2 hours on a one-way travel to work. So because of the traffic situation. So can you just imagine that? And another preparation time for eating and for taking a bath and changing clothes or dressing up. So uh, then you have to sleep like 6 to 8 hours a day. So that's already 18 hours or more. 18 to 20 hours of your time are spent outside outside the home. So can you just imagine you just have like 4, sometimes 3 to 4 hours a day to your family. So you spend considerably more time with your office mates than with your family members. So why not make your office mates as family? Consider them as your family outside the home. So that would make your life a bit easier and happier. So, but we cannot do away with some pressure, as what has been mentioned here: social pressure, professional pressure, economic pressure. Sometimes even if you are close friends, but if you are in the middle of a project and you are pressured with the deadlines, sometimes things don't get smoother with your relationship. So the problem with communication as well, or the lack of communication, could yield a lot of relationship problems within the workplace. So people are not automatically born with good character. So someone like a parent, a school teacher, or some kind of a person, especially those in high authorities, help develop our individual character. Or sometimes the pastors or the priests or the Bible study leaders or disciplers have a bigger role, if not the parents, on molding our character traits. So, just as in our individual lives, sometimes character issues arise in the workplace, just views can clash, and we are forced to rank the issues according to the consequences of our choices. So, let me move on. I forgot to share the screen. So, um, there we go. Okay, so here we are. It can be very difficult to make a decision that has consequences or not agreeable with what we want to do. So let's try an experiment here. So here the story talks about uh, an example of how you deal with something. Here is it's about a car or something. Let's just change the example. For example, we have you were driving in the highway and you committed a violation and you were caught by the traffic enforcer. Then the traffic enforcer said, "Sir, you committed a 1,500 penalty because of the violation that you had." So he's about to issue a ticket. Then somehow the enforcer said, "Sir, if you will just give me 500, I'll take it. Somehow it will, you can save more money instead of paying the 1,500 penalty." And well, I just forget that you committed something. So what do you do with that? Will you just accept the offer because it's very tempting? Or you could refuse politely, or you can also refuse angrily and tell him that this is illegal. Or you can refuse or tell him that this is illegal and then report this to your to the police station or to his supervisor or whatever. So what do you do? So this is a question of ethics in that case. Okay, moving on. So here are the possible options. You can accept the deal because you think it benefits you, or you can say thank you, but no. So it's a polite way of refusing. Or you can refuse and express irritation at dishonesty. And or the last one is refuse, express irritation, report to the insurance company. So what do you think is the most ethical thing to do? So so what is the meaning of ethics then? Excuse me. So ethics or moral philosophy is a branch of philosophy that involve systemizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. Ethics seeks to resolve questions of human morality by defining concepts such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue and vice, or justice and crime. So, what would be your basis for these things? Like, who can tell you that this thing is right or this thing is wrong? So, they say, sir, the mga judges o ang simbahan. Diba? So, that is a basis for these things. So, to contemplate further, ethics means standards of duty and virtue that indicate how we should behave. You notice the word should here is marked red. It's because that separates it from values. Okay, it is about right and wrong and how an honorable person should behave. It is about being a good person. But the question is, what do you mean by good? Good is a very broad term and it's even relative. Like Pablo Escobar, the great drug lord of Colombia, is considered as a good person to his family and to his neighbors even because he was able to improve their way of life. But in general, because he is a drug lord, he killed a lot of people as well. People call him as one of the most wicked person around. So it's a very relative term. Okay, so what's good in the eyes of men could sometimes even be gross in the eyes of God. So it is versus ought. What you are versus what you ought to do. So that is ethics. When speaking about ethics or character, what does it mean? So ethics refer to principles that define behavior as right, good, and proper. Ethics are non-partisan, so they transcend political, cultural, or religious issues. Okay, so So in this case, they are not about what some people call success. We do tend to judge people by in terms of wealth or by prosperity. We sometimes judge them by position, education, or even beauty. Sometimes we evaluate them by their bank account, the car model they drive, or their possession of the latest and greatest gadgets. So it reminds me of some YouTube videos about gold diggers, for example, that women, when they are approached by men who doesn't dress well or is not that good looking, they tend to treat them with discrimination. Like, I don't care who you are, or I don't want to go with you, or whatever. I don't even want to answer your questions. But when they see the guy driving a luxurious car like a Lamborghini in front and going away, they they change their minds. They go with the guy, they ride the car right away without asking lots of questions. So that's why they were branded as gold diggers, because they tend to change the way they look at people by the possession of those cars, for example. So, but how much can you really know about the person by looking at these external things? So, ethical principles do not always dictate a single moral course of action, such as this is right or this is wrong, or this is good, this is bad. So, but they provide a means for evaluating and deciding among several competing options. So, ethics is not the same as values, as what I have mentioned before. So, ethics is what you do when no one else is watching. So, imagine you were invisible and you were able to do anything without the consequences or repercussions. Can you just imagine if all people have that kind of ability? Sometimes it brings out the worst in us. Like, we might be tempted to steal because you will not be able to be caught by the policeman. You can uh, look at people's private lives secretly. Like, I want to see them naked or what. Or you want to uh, check what people are doing, or you want to even do certain crimes. Okay, so because you're not about to be punished with consequences. So can you just imagine? So how chaotic the world will be. So most people have convictions about what is right or wrong based on a variety of reasons. Some of them are religious belief, cultural roots, family background, personal experiences, or law, organizational values, or political habits. So these are the things that motivate people to do or not do things. Again, so these are the things that becomes basis. So number one on the list are religious beliefs. So beliefs in a God whom you will be accountable to with your actions is a very good motivation, very strong motivation for doing the right thing. We also have cultural roots. When in your culture, like for us Filipinos, most of us are really honest. Whenever we are able to find something that's not ours, we tend to find the owners. Okay, we also have family background, like uh, when people are trained particularly to doing the right thing or choosing the right path based on your family background, that becomes a force to reckon with. Okay, we also have personal experiences. When you, based on your personal experience, you are like, for example, Robin Padilla, when he was caught with an illegal possession of firearms and he was in prison, it taught him a lot of things, and he became a better person after spending how many months in a prison house, months or years even, I think. So the law could keep us from doing the wrong things. We also have organizational values. When you belong to a particular church or group, and of course political habits. So character requires more than knowing right from wrong. It also requires ethical sensitivity to the outcome of decisions, and it requires a procedure for applying these procedures to problems. So ethics and character are the same, but values are not interchangeable with character or either ethics. Why? Because ethics apply to how a person should behave, whereas values are a personal inner judgment that determines how you will behave. So that's the difference. And values can change with time. Our values are what we prize, and our value system is the order in which we prize them. So because values rank our likes and dislikes, our value system determines how we will behave in certain situations, and it creates a lot of clashes in our life. So for instance, the desire to be rich may clash with our desire to be honest. Our desire for personal independence may clash with a desire for intimacy. So, and for example, your desire, if you value your own happiness so much, then you can have a lot of problems with that, because sometimes you might be doing the wrong thing as long as it makes you happy. That's a familiar reason for other women who enters the lives of married men. Their reason is, I'm happy with a guy even though he's already married. So that could put her in a lot of trouble. So why do we need to be ethical? Number one, it's just good for business. It's just good business. Okay, and number two, it's the smart thing to do. So if for example, if you are in a business situation, and if you are dealing with customers, with suppliers, and with your employees ethically, it could yield to a better business, because uh, people could what do you call this, uh, patronize your products or your services because they trust in you. Okay, So people have a lot of reasons for being ethical. So among those could be an inner benefit. Like virtue is its own reward. Like for example, when you give to people who are in need, you will feel good, and that can even be explained physically. You are releasing a lot of feel good hormones when you help people. Try that. And sometimes it's addicting. So when you get your dopamine released by giving good, you tend to always do it. You tend to repeat the process. Okay, what else? It gives us a personal advantage compared to others, because a person with a higher integrity or a clean reputation will always have an advantage in many ways. For example, in sports, in business, even in love life. For example, like the person who is not that good looking compared to a person who is good looking, but the other person is more ethical. He always does the right thing compared to the good looking person who always tends to do a lot of bad things. So the woman would probably prefer the other. Okay, so look at Manny Pacquiao, for example. Like, no matter how you trash talk the guy, he doesn't respond in the same way. He just behaves and he keeps his mouth shut, and he lets his punches do the talking in the ring. So what happens after the fight? He wins the respect of his opponents, and they admire him and respect him so much, and they apologize. See, so and he is even more famous in the countries of those opponents than the opponents themselves. Like Manny Pacquiao is really more famous in Mexico than Eric Morales or Marquez or whoever. So, what else? Good behavior can please or help you serve God. There's a verse in the Bible that says, in whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. So this is the best motivation we have for doing good. Not for the eyes of men, not to please men, but to please God. And if that is your motivation for doing things, even if nobody is looking, even if you are not appreciated or acknowledged for the good things that you do, you will still do the right thing. Because you know that God sees everything, and God will not forget every good deed that you will do. He says, whatever you do to the least of my brothers, you are doing it to me. So if you have that kind of motivation, then you are assured that you are in the right path. Okay, some people are ethical out of habit as well. Like I have mentioned, some children are trained in their houses to do a lot of good things. So moving on. Okay, so we see here an illustration of workplace function. It's modified. So our skills, character, system. Our skills, our character, and our system. So look at this chart. So to make any workplace function properly, we know we need to have a skilled staff or a system in place that works, and both leadership and staff with character. So imagine a skilled employee without character. He will not fit in. And character is a highly respected trait. So the most desirable employee is the selflessness one.